I set up a spreadsheet on my laptop to keep track of how long I was practicing and of any difficulties I was having along the way. I made graphs of everything and tracked the steady upticks in my scores in a journal. August 19th did 28 cards in 2:57. August 20th did 28 cards in 2:39, solid time. August 24th did 38 cards in 4:40, not so good. September 8th, sitting in the Starbucks, procrastinating instead of working on an overdue article. Memorized 46 digits in 5 minutes, pathetic. Then did 48 cards in 3:32. Decided finally to change my image for 4 cards. Goodbye, female actresses. Hello, mental athletes club. Equals Ed Cook. Diamonds equals Gunther Karsten. Hearts equals Ben Pridmore. Spades equals me. October 2nd. Did 70 random words in 50 minutes. Not good. Lost points because I confused the word grow with growth and bicycle with bike. From now on, when a word has multiple close variations, make a careful mental note in Palace next to the confusing image. October 16th. Just did 87 random words. I'm doing too much eyeing of the clock and glancing around the room instead of memorizing. I'm losing time. Concentrate, man, concentrate. Attention, of course, is a prerequisite of remembering. Generally, when we forget the name of a new acquaintance, it's because we're too busy thinking about what we're going to say next instead of paying attention. Part of the reason techniques like visual imagery and memory palace work so well is that they enforce a degree of attention and mindfulness that is normally lacking. You can't create an image of a word or number or person without dwelling on it, and you can't dwell on something without making it more memorable. The problem I was running into my training was that I was simply getting bored by it and allowing my mind's eye to wander, no matter how crude, colorful, and explicit the images one paints in one's memory palace. One can only look at pages of random numbers for so long before beginning to wonder if there isn't something more interesting going on in another room, like the sound of pudding. Ed, who had taken to referring to me as son, young man, and therefore instead insisted that the cure of my distractibility lay in an equipment upgrade. All serious monogamous wear earmuffs. A few of the most serious competitors were obliged to concentrate their field of view and shut out peripheral distractions. I find them ridiculous, but in your case, they may be a sound investment, said Ed. One of our regular twice-a-week phone check-ins that afternoon, I went out to the hardware store and bought a pair of industrial-grade earmuffs and a pair of plastic laboratory safety goggles. I spray-painted them black and then drilled a small eye hole through each lens. Henceforth, I would always wear them in practice. It was easy enough to explain to people that I was living with my parents to save a few bucks while I cut my teeth as a writer. But what I was doing in their basement, with pages of random numbers taped to the wall and old high school yearbooks purchased at flea markets cracked open on the floor, was, if not downright shameful, at least something to lie about. When my father would visit me in the basement to ask if I'd like to putt with him for a few minutes, I'd quickly hide the page of numbers I was memorizing and pretend to be diligently at work on something else, like an article that some publication might compensate me for, with a check that might in turn be handed over to a landlord. Sometimes I'd take off my earmuffs and memory goggles and turn around to discover that my father had been standing in the doorway, just watching me. If Erickson was my professor, Ed had taken the role of yogi and manager. He set a schedule for me for the next 4 months with benchmarks I was supposed to meet along the way, and a strict regimen of half an hour practice each morning, plus 2 5-minute booster sessions in the afternoon. A computer program tested me and kept detailed records of my mistakes so that we could analyze them later. I emailed my times to Ed every few days, and he would write back with suggestions about how I could improve. Eventually, I decided I needed to go back to the mill farm to get some more face time with my coach. I scheduled my return trip to England to coincide with Ed's 25th birthday party, an epic affair that he had been talking up since I had first visited England for the World Memory Championships. Ed's party was held in the Mouth's old stone barn, which Ed had spent the better part of a week converting into an experimental vessel of his philosophy of parties. I'm trying to find a framework for manipulating conversation, space movement, mood, and expectation, so that I can see how they influence one another. He told me in order to track all these parameters, I treat people not people as rational entities, but as automata particles, really, which bounce around the party. And as host of the party, I take seriously my responsibility of bouncing them around in the best possible manner. With glittery textiles hung from the rafters to the floor, dividing the bar into a collection of small rooms. The only way in or out was through the network of tunnels, which could be navigated only by slithering on one's belly. The space under the ground piano was turned into a front, and a circle was formed around the fireplace, out of a collective of raggedy couches that had been stacked on top of tables. The people who actually get through the tunnel networks have been through an adventure. They have had to struggle a tiny bit, and therefore, upon arrival, they feel a sense of gratitude, relief, and accomplishment, and are committed to the project of having a good experience. With the most possible vigor and imagination, I think your memory training is extremely similar to this. Although it sounds silly to say no pain, no gain, it's true. One has to hurt to go through a period of stress, a period of self-doubt, a period of confusion, and then out of that mess can flow the richest tapestries. I crawled behind him through the 10-foot-long pitch-black tunnel and emerged into a room filled with neck-deep with balloons. Each room, he explained, was supposed to function like a chamber of a memory palace. His party was designed to be maximally memorable. Too often, one is just left in a haze about what happened at a party because it's a single, undifferentiated space. He said one of the advantages of this kind of setup is that the experience in each room gets kept in each room and are isolated from other experiences. One leaves the party with a beautiful repertoire of events upon which one can dwell during old and middle age.